We do have the right to still choose who we associate with, but they did not refuse
I refuse to associate myself with you right now.
Yeah. Go, Ray. Go, Ray.
You have a position on what people's names should be.
I'm not about to hire you if your name is Watermelondrea.
Watermelondrea.
Oh, that's no.
Yep, that's me.
This is who you're going to be. You follow it, you listen, you pay attention, and you practice. So I went along for the ride.
Whether you see it in an interview, whether you see it on print, whether you see it at that time, had 15 people dictating what I should and should not look like. If I did whatever I want, I'm not going to sell because it doesn't go with the brand.
Hi, I'm Jake, and welcome to That's So Deep Dive. Today, I'm jumping into the past to explore a young actress who could see into the future, Raven Symone. I'll be diving into how Raven foundationally shaped the golden era of the Disney Channel, and just how she experienced the darkest side of the industry at only 4 years old. Now, this story is a highly requested deep dive, but it's pretty f***ed up. So hold on to your hats and keep your arms and legs inside the submarine at all times, because I'm diving deep into the f***ed up world of Raven Symone. It's her hit show, That's So Raven. But before we do that, I actually have to tell you about today's sponsor. If you could see 5 minutes into the future, you could be eating a delicious dinner crafted by a real chef. And if you could see 60 seconds into the future, you'd probably see yourself signing up for Cook Unity. See, Cook Unity is the first chef-to-you meal delivery service, made up of over 70 chefs who believe that great food should be for everyone. Each week, award-winning chefs craft hundreds of globally inspired meals, from vegetarian to paleo and everything in between. Meals are delivered fresh, never frozen, and are cooked every day in regional micro kitchens, not warehouse production facilities. Through a weekly subscription, you can pick from a robust, ever-changing menu full of options that fit your lifestyle needs. Personally, I also love that the subscription is super flexible. You can pause, skip weeks, or cancel at any time. My favorite meal this week was the parm-crusted chicken tenders with green beans and honey mustard, made by Chef Andre Mendez, who has worked in various restaurants in Manhattan. I'm not much of a cook, so having incredible meals like grilled naan pizza or Peruvian chicken delivered to me weekly feels like I'm trying out a new restaurant every night, but for a fraction of the cost of eating out. And y'all, McDonald's is like $17 for a McNugget meal now, so be sure to go to cookunity.com/deep50 or click the link in the description and use my code DEEP50 to get 50% off your first order of Cook Unity meals to try them out for yourself. Thank you so much to Cook Unity for sponsoring this episode of Deep Dive, but it's time to get back into the future. And let's see what really happened to the career of Raven Symone and the hit Disney Channel show, That's So Raven. On December 10th, 1985, one of the world's most famous child stars would be born, Raven Symone Christina Pearman. Her parents, Lydia Galden and Christopher Pearman, felt like their infant daughter was destined for stardom, immediately signing her to Atlanta's Young Faces modeling agency, where Raven would get various modeling gigs as a baby for local print advertisements.
Everybody say, Symone, Symone, come on, Symone. I said, I got Symone, I'm Raven.
How old are you?
3.5.
By the time Raven was only 2 years old, she would get signed to the Ford modeling agency based out of New York. Now, this was a massive deal, as Ford models worked with major names such as Jane Fonda, Brooke Shields, and Naomi Campbell. According to Raven's parents, it was also around this time when Raven started to express an interest in acting. So in 1988, they packed up and moved their family from Atlanta all the way to the Big Apple, so Raven could get every opportunity possible. Her mom would work nights to make ends meet, and Raven's dad worked as her manager, taking her all around New York for various auditions. Almost right away, Raven was cast in commercials for massive brands such as Goldfish, Jell-O, Ritz Crackers, Fisher-Price, and Cool Whip, just to name a few.
Who needs Ritz Crackers in your house?
Daddy and Mommy, everybody.
Even the goldfish?
Oh.
Just checking.
It was written in the stars that Raven was gonna be something major. At just 3 years old, Raven would get her big break. As the story goes, Raven's mom's favorite TV show was The Cosby Show, which at this point had been airing for a few seasons. Apparently, one fateful night while watching TV, Raven was acting along to Rudy Huxtable saying she could act in the show. Thus, her mom would call Raven's agency, and it just so happens that there was an open casting call for the movie Ghost Dad with Bill Cosby. Raven secured an audition. However, she was too young for the role, but this audition is where Bill Cosby would notice Raven's incredible talent and perfect comedic timing. Almost immediately, Raven would be cast in The Cosby Show as Olivia, Bill Cosby's witty, wildly intelligent, and humorous step-granddaughter.
There's a little girl that's only been on this earth 3 years, and already she's done 12 national TV commercials, numerous print ads, and is right now Olivia on America's favorite show, The Cosby Kids.
Now let me get this straight. You say that the stork carries over, puts the baby in the bassinet, and the mother is real big because she eats a lot of food.
You got it.
I see. Well, then why is it that the mother has to go to the hospital?
The stork brings the baby to the hospital, drops it in the bassinet. The mommy goes to the hospital and gets it.
Yes, big bucks. Salaries for kids in prime time can reach into 6 figures. 4-year-old Cosby Show cutie Raven Symone and her father say that's exactly why she's in this business.
This is fun, but it's also a job. And she does this to get what?
Paid.
Exactly. There's college and things that she wants, so forth like that. And it pretty much solidifies her future.
Every night, understanding that this is a job you can't mess up. This is not for fun, but it is fun. Make sure you respect people. Don't do this, don't do that. It was a lot of rules in place. My dad really wanted to make sure that the world knew my name, not just my character name. So every opportunity that came across our desk, as long as it really furthered the brand of Raven Symone, he took. And I was right there learning my lines, making sure I performed. As my parents said, it's time to razzle dazzle.
Raven was catapulted into stardom as the world fell in love with her bubbly, charismatic personality. Wendy Credle, an executive with MCA Records, saw this little girl entertaining millions of people and decided to give Raven a record deal at just 5 years old, making Raven the youngest artist to ever be signed to a label. To develop Raven's vocal abilities, Wynn would send her to vocal training lessons with Missy Elliott.
I started out doing records for God. Where do I start? Well, actually, my first record was with Raven Symone, the little girl from the Cosby. Well, she's not a little girl anymore. Yeah. That was the first record I ever written outside of, me being an artist.
It's doing an album at 5 and staying in the studio until 2, 1 o'clock in the morning, and you're 5 years old knowing that this is the next step in your career, so suck it up and let's do it. You just do what you gotta do.
After tireless work at just 5 years old, Raven's debut album titled Here's to New Dreams didn't actually release until she was 7 years old. The debut single, That's What Little Girls Are Made Of, which was written and produced by Missy Elliott, peaked at number 68 on the Billboard charts. However, the album overall was not a commercial success, so Raven would inevitably be dropped from MCA Records. Also around this time in 1992, The Cosby Show would come to an end after 8 seasons of being one of the highest rated TV sitcoms in history. Fast forward to 2018, where reruns of The Cosby Show were pulled from almost every major network after Bill Cosby was found guilty and convicted of sexual assault.
Bill Cosby guilty today of 3 counts of aggravated indecent assault.
Bill Cosby found guilty on all counts.
He's guilty, and the comic legend, once known as America's Dad, now faces up to 30 years in prison. All the major networks broke in with the news. Several of his alleged victims were in tears after the verdict came down. The jury deliberated about 14 hours. Testimony lasted 12 days. The jurors who decided Cosby's fate consisted of 7 men and 5 women. Cosby quickly left the courtroom after the verdict was read.
We are very disappointed by the verdict. We don't think Mr. Cosby's guilty of anything, and the fight is not over.
Raven would be asked frequently throughout her career about Bill Cosby and her experience working alongside him. She's opened up, stating that she actually doesn't have much of a memory of that time in her life.
I do not remember as soon as the camera starts. Something clicks off and I do what I'm trained to do. It's dissociation. I just black out. I turn into who I'm supposed to be when the camera's on. And then I come back to when normal life resumes. My likeness, whether you see it in an interview, whether you see it on print, whether you see it, however you see it at that time, had 15 people dictating what I should and should not look like. If I did whatever I want, I'm not going to sell because it doesn't go with the brand. I was branded at such a young age. And then you wonder why all of these child stars have these issues. You were not allowing them to grow up as human beings. You were stifling them at the youngest and most important development age of their time. And then you expect them to be normal later. In my head, I have 3 different brains. At that age, you had to compartmentalize. When you're in the public eye, you have to. I dare you to know all of your school and go to class and do a TV show and do the red carpet and not talk back because you're still a kid.
It's now 1993, and Raven had been working non-stop since she was only 6 months old. Now, you would think after being dropped from her label and The Cosby Show ending, she would finally get a break to be a normal kid. But she was immediately cast in another sitcom titled Hanging with Mr. Cooper.
I did hang with Mr. Cooper when I was 7 years old to 11 years old. At that time, the conversation of weight started to come up and don't eat this, don't eat that, and I heard it, didn't understand it, did what I was told, but then behind the scenes ate. Because looking back, that was the only thing that I could really control.
In 1994, at 8 years old, she made it to the big screen in her first film role in The Little Rascals. Fast forward to 1996, and an 11-year-old Raven was not quite done with music. So her and her dad, Christopher, co-founded a record label called Ray Blaze Records. Raven hit the studio working on songs that displayed her vocal abilities with some rap mixed in. She actually ended up scoring a distribution deal with Cash Records. And her second album, Undeniable, was released in 1999. Despite being one of the opening acts for NSYNC's first tour to promote the album, it unfortunately flopped, selling only 2,000 copies. Even though Raven's music wasn't taking off, her acting career was soaring. She got a main role on the big screen alongside Eddie Murphy in Dr. Dolittle. However, this was only the beginning, as she was about to make history by signing on with the world's largest children's network. And she would pioneer the golden age of the Disney Channel. Between 1998 and 1999, the Disney Channel went through a significant rebrand, changing its logo, programming blocks, and name altogether. See, back in the late 80s and early 90s, Disney was in its animation renaissance. But towards the end of the decade, the company would see several animated commercial failures. Mainly Fantasia 2000, a pet project by Walt Disney's nephew and conservatorship victim, Roy E. Disney. High costs and low payoff enticed the company to invest further in live-action programming. Thus, Disney Zoog was born. Disney would begin pumping out original TV programming and movies to populate the new Zoog programming block on Disney Channel. And there were 3 huge stars who comprised this rebrand: Hilary Duff, Shia LaBeouf, and of course, Raven Symone. Not only was Raven shattering barriers, being the first black star of movies and TV on Disney Channel, but she had the most longevity out of the 3 stars, making her appearance in not only the early days of the network, but dominating and defining the golden age of Disney Channel, and even sticking it out to the very end days. But how did Raven become a leading star for over 2 decades on Disney Channel? Well, it all started with a charming TV pilot turned Disney Channel original movie trilogy titled Xenon, Girl of the 21st Century.
The year's 2040, and I play Xenon Carr. Living on a space station, she and her friends are constantly getting into trouble. Oh, but I didn't do anything until the day her parents ground her. And I mean really ground her. To Earth. Thank you, Gravity. Here's a face you'll recognize. The Cosby Show's Raven Symone. She plays Nebula, my BF. That means best friend. You'll need to know that for the movie. But the best part about today is that we're shooting the first rock concert in space. It's Stellanarius. That means cool. You'll need to know that too.
3 total Xenon movies, 2 of which featured Raven as the main supporting actress, would be released on the Disney Channel.
Cetus Lapidus, it's Xenon! You guys, my first boyfriend was on this movie. But I'm not going to tell you their name or who they were. Anyway! Xenon Girl of the 21st Century was my first movie on Disney Channel. I played Nebula. I wore spandex. We were in space. There was a vision, and we executed it. And now it's one of the best Halloween costumes that you could possibly put on.
Now, Raven may have just been Xenon's best friend in the movies, but she stole every single scene she was in. With her exaggerated facial expressions and reactionary dialogue, families and their children alike couldn't rip their eyes away from Raven's stellar performance. Now, like I mentioned before, Xenon was supposed to be Raven's big break, starring on another TV show and making her Disney Channel debut for years to come. But it was made a movie instead. If Xenon never became a movie trilogy, Raven would have debuted as one of the first Disney Channel stars in their first TV series. But the Disney Channel seemingly had even bigger plans for Raven. For the next 3 years after Xenon, Raven continually auditioned for different Disney-branded projects, landing a role in The Proud Family in 2001, and even stealing the show in Dr. Dolittle too. But Raven was still waiting on her big break. That's when a TV show audition would come that would alter the course of Raven Symone's life forever. At the turn of the millennium, Michael Poirier, the creator of shows like Hannah Montana, The Sweet Life, and many more, would write a buddy comedy where a young female lead could see into the future. The show, then titled The Future Is On Me, would follow a teen sidekick and her BFF as they navigated high school together. The show would quickly be renamed to Absolutely Psychic and would open up auditions in 2001. See, Absolutely Psychic was meant to serve as the third live-action smash hit on the Disney Channel. With breakthrough shows like Even Stevens and Lizzie McGuire hitting off to such immediate success, the Absolutely Psychic auditions were the hottest auditions in Hollywood. Everyone wanted to join breakthrough stars Shia LaBeouf and Hilary Duff as the faces of the newly rebranded Disney Channel, and a 15-year-old Raven Symone was no exception. Raven would wow Michael Poirier with her comedic acting chops in a way very few actresses ever could. With her history already working with the channel and even being a child star on The Cosby Show, it was looking like the part of Chelsea was all Raven's. Thus, they moved forward and filmed the pilot for the new Disney Channel live-action buddy comedy Absolutely Psychic. After filming a pilot for the TV show, the Disney Channel usually runs the show past a private focus group made up of their targeted demographic. Shows like Arwen and Kiki and Jamal fell victim to focus groups not connecting with the plots or the characters. But when Michael Poirier did a focus group for Absolutely Psychic, the children and their parents alike pretty much only responded positively to Raven's portrayal of the sidekick, Chelsea. Now, it's unclear if Annalise Vanderpool was originally cast as the lead, as the pilot for Absolutely Psychic is considered lost media. Maybe that's why she's so bitter and is always dragging Raven through the mud. Who knows?
When I went into audition, the show was called Absolutely Psychic. It wasn't called That's So Raven at all. It was called Absolutely Psychic.
Okay.
At the time, Raven wasn't the lead. She
What?
was the sidekick.
That's
And they
true.
were-
What?
Yes, they were looking for a lead. I came into audition for the lead. I think the character's name was Molly.
Anyway, Michael Poirier is amazing at what he does because he would always listen to the focus group. He knew that kids knew what they wanted to watch, and Raven was a complete scene stealer. Thus, Michael Poirier knew what needed to be done. He would change the titular character's name to Raven Baxter and switched Raven Symone in to be the lead. He even canned the title Absolutely Psychic in favor of the Disney Channel classic That's So Raven.
I auditioned for both roles. I auditioned for My Wife and Kids, and I also auditioned for the best friend of a pilot called Absolutely Psychic. And for one of the first times in my life, I got to choose behind the scenes which one I wanted to go for. I did one episode of My Wife and Kids, and while I was on that set, I got the call. They were like, well, this pilot's getting picked up with you. I was like, well, what do you mean with me? They were like, we want to change it over to Raven being psychic and you having friends. And I go, am I on My Wife and Kids? or am I gonna have my own show on Disney Channel? And at the time it wasn't, I forgot what My Wife and Kids was on, but it wasn't a network show. So I was like, I'll have my own show, that's kinda cool. I was the first Black female to have a show named after her on television. Youngest on television. So yeah.
This decision would lay the groundwork for the next 20 years of children's programming, and Raven would be transformed into a Disney Channel icon.
Now, can you imagine seeing things before they happen? Well, that is the situation of which your brother's rapping. Now, Raven Baxter's got that power, and you're gonna find that knowing the future can bring trouble to the mind. Now, the star of the show is Raven, as you might have guessed. Moving along, I'm gonna introduce all the rest. Got hilarious Corey, pretty Chelsea, the fine young Squire Big Eddie. That's me, we're a team. We're taking the comedy level to the extreme. With vision so clear, they seem like straight dreams. Disney Channel, start craving and holla back, y'all. Cause that's so Raven.
Disney Channel's brand new original comedy series coming in January.
On Friday, January 17th, 2003, Disney Channel would debut the first 4 episodes of That's So Raven to a record-breaking 3 million viewers. This was the highest Disney Channel had ever experienced at the time, and would set a precedent for the next 5 years on the Disney Channel. This is commonly referred to as the golden era of the Disney Channel, and Raven Symone was the foundation for it. She truly paved the way for stars like the Sprouse twins, Selena Gomez, Demi Lovato, and Miley Cyrus to dominate the network for years to come. Viewers instantly fell in love with Eddie, Chelsea, Corey, and Raven. The show felt different than anything Disney Channel had ever produced prior. That's So Raven not only made viewers laugh with Raven and Chelsea's hijinks, but it also tackled social issues the Disney Channel usually didn't dare to touch.
I thought you aced that interview, Ray.
Yeah, I thought so too. I did everything perfectly.
There's gotta be some reason why you didn't get that job.
The truth is, I don't hire Black people.
Well, did you have a vision, Ray?
Yeah. And I saw Chloe straight up say I do not hire Black people. What?
That's discrimination.
I don't believe this.
Tackling racism and body image head on within the show's context. However, this was often at Raven's expense, targeting her physical appearance, race, and weight. Full episodes dedicated to Raven not being skinny enough to be a model would, yes, warm the hearts of children across the globe, but they would also cement deep-seated issues for Raven.
Let me see. What? How can they do this to me? It is me. I mean, that's my face and that's my dress, but that's not my body. This girl does not have the look. The look. Who says that's the only look? You make people feel bad if they don't look like that. No one looks like that. I don't even look like that. Because in case you haven't noticed, people come in all shapes and sizes and they're all beautiful. Tell it, girl. Speak the truth. Put that in your magazine.
Now, in recent years, Raven has passively-aggressively aired Disney Channel out for how they treated her during her rise to fame.
When I had my own show, I used to tan 3 or 4 times a week in a tanning bed to get darker. I did. And it's funny, one of the lighting guys came up. I love him to death. I love him. Oh my goodness. He goes, Raven, I need you to stop tanning. You're getting too dark and we have to relight the whole entire show. I was like, sorry, I was just trying to be pretty.
Nonetheless, the subject matters were touchy but important to discuss. This made the Baxter family feel authentic, and the show quickly began growing a cult following. Now, because the show is Raven's legal name, it's unclear if the Disney Channel attempted to own her name like they did with Miley Cyrus. Nonetheless, with the success of That's So Raven, Disney Channel knew they needed to populate Raven in every corner of their channel in an attempt to recreate the success of That's So Raven over and over again. This is where Raven would be put in every single commercial commercial break, casting Kim Possible, and the groundbreaking movie trilogy, The Cheetah Girls. Now, I'm not going to get too into the Cheetah Girls as we already have an entire deep dive on them already. However, I will touch on it in the context to Raven. See, Raven was already exploding on That's So Raven, but The Cheetah Girls was an even bigger success at the time. This transformed Raven from a well-known actress to a solidified superstar. Suddenly, Raven was not only starring in the biggest show to ever hit the Disney Channel, but she was heading an internationally renowned girl group. Disney had pushed Raven onto every show they could think of, but a new crop of Disney stars was coming, and Raven was not happy. That's So Raven would be the first Disney Channel show to reach 100 episodes, and was the only live-action show to reach 100 episodes until Raven's Home beat its own record. But in 2007, That's So Raven would come to an end, and Cory in the House, a sequel centered around Raven's little brother moving into the White House with her father, would serve as the first ever Disney Channel spin-off. Now be sure to check out our whole video on Kyle Massey on our sister channel Secret Society. Anyway, Raven was still riding high after That's So Raven. She'd go on to guest star throughout the end of the golden age of Disney, featuring as a guest star on Cory in the House and even making a surprise appearance on Demi Lovato's hit show Sunny with a Chance. But Raven's career was evolving. While she would release another album, no one was really listening, as she only sold 4,400 copies in her first week.
You still in the studio working on music too?
Aren't I always in the studio working on music that nobody buys? So,
wow.
I am on my 5th. You bought it? You just saying that because you on camera. Anyway, I'm just playing with you, sweetheart. You probably are. No, I am working on my 5th solo album, and hopefully it'll be out by next year. Let's hope y'all keep saying that when it comes out.
Raven was riding high and low at the same time, releasing even more music and even starring in a second Cheetah Girls movie, which, contrary to her solo project, would go on to be the highest-selling Disney soundtrack to this day. Raven would go on to voice several cartoons for Disney and even try her hand at adult comedy in Revenge of the Bridesmaids in 2010. But something wasn't clicking for Raven. Behind all the flashing lights and Disney magic was a dark industry that would mistreat Raven at every turn. From the age of 7, Raven has been ridiculed for her body image, and Disney Channel was no different. While all the other Cheetah Girls got to wear cute fits, Raven was often dressed in business casual, or her fashion was disregarded entirely.
I think it's very interesting how the blogs are changing what Hollywood is and how it is a way to hide behind and say evil things. I think people forget that we're human. Between the ages of 15 and 24, I was ridiculed and bullied for my weight and size. It sucked being in the industry during the 2000s when, you had all these skinny minis out here making journeys, and, you don't get that, and you're on blogs and people are calling you all kinds of things, and you had your mama calling you up like, you need to lose weight because they're talking about you. I'm like, I'm gonna eat this in and out, and I'm gonna sit here and be super happy. Y'all gonna have to figure it out for yourselves. I'm not gonna do it. Because I had 2 breast reductions in lipo before I turned 18.
Okay.
But yeah,
I'm sorry. And you also said before the age of 18.
Yeah, before the age of 18.
Which means you were a minor.
Correct. There was paperwork involved. My dad suggested strongly that I should get my breast reduced. And he was like, so you don't feel bad? Is there anything you want? I was like, what? I was like, yeah. If I get lipo, will people stop calling me fat? And so I got a twofer. And it was just like a mess. It was just a mess, just being that young.
But the constant remarks about her body and skin weren't the only reasons she would leave Hollywood. See, Raven realized from a fairly young age that she was a part of the LGBT community. But being in children's network television in the early 2000s would never allow Raven to be her true, authentic self. This would eat away at Raven's soul until she couldn't take it any longer.
I look back now and I'm going like, whoa, you liked girls. You liked them. I didn't want to tell my parents because I didn't. I knew I couldn't say it out loud because, oh my God, little Olivia's gay? This is crazy. I had the #1 show on Disney. I had multiple albums. I've been on tour with NSYNC. People have bucket lists. My bucket list was finished at 18. I didn't want to deal with that. Even if I got sick, I probably would have been like, I'm taking this to the grave. But that eats at your soul. That eats at your soul. Period.
For years, Raven was told exactly how to act and behave on set. As a now 20-year-old woman, Raven still wasn't able to live as her authentic self. Thus, Raven Symone would leave the industry to discover her true self. In the period of 2013 to 2016, Raven would experience a drastic change in personality and appearance. And she'd go to the Academy of Art University to obtain her master's degree in fine arts.
Since the age of 3, I don't know what life is other than this. And you think things are always greener on the other side. So when I turned 24, 25, I was like, I'm retired. I'm getting out. I'm over it. And I left.
I said, well, if I'm not going to be in the industry, then I can come out. So I did that. Went to college. I felt good. And I had support there beyond belief. And that was the first time where I felt like I didn't have to have a beard.
But college would seemingly change Raven into someone who didn't give a phew. And this DGAF tour would last 2 very impactful and memorable years. Unfortunately, much of this would represent the downfall of Raven's public image. The Raven Symone pipeline of child star to political commentator began with one of the most shocking episodes of Oprah Where Are They Now to ever exist. A year into Raven's college degree, she sat down with Oprah and explained her rejection of labels.
The tweet was, I can finally get married. Yay, government, so proud of you. Wow, that was August 2nd, 2013. So was that your way of coming out, of saying you were gay?
That was my way of saying I'm proud of the country. But I will say that I'm in an amazing, happy relationship with my partner, a woman. And on the other side, my mother and people in my family, they've taught me to keep my personal life to myself. But I am proud to be who I am and what I am. I don't need a categorizing statement for it. I think that's one thing that
So you don't want to be labeled gay?
I don't want to be labeled gay. I want to be labeled a human who loves humans. I'm tired of being labeled. I'm an American. I'm not an African American. I'm an American.
Oh, girl, don't set up the Twitter on fire.
I'm sorry. I mean,
what?
I'm sorry.
My Lord. What did you just say? Stop the tape right now.
I don't know how far back, and I don't know what country in Africa I'm from, but I do know that my roots are in Louisiana. I'm an American.
I mean, you're gonna get a lot of flack for saying you're not African American. You know that, right?
I don't label myself.
Okay, so I want you to say what you really mean by that.
What I really mean by that is I'm an American. That's what I really mean. I connect with Caucasian, I connect with Asian, I connect with Black, I connect with Indian. I connect with each culture.
You are a melting pot in one body.
Aren't we all?
Yes.
Isn't that what America's supposed to be?
This set multiple communities on fire. Headlines would misconstrue Raven's words, and clips would be run across every major entertainment network, effectively undoing the multiple decades of PR Raven had been working to build up. But Raven wasn't going down without a fight. Attending a university emboldened her more than ever, and her new public image as an unfiltered commentator drew the Disney Corporation's attention again. However, this time it wasn't for their children's network. It was for their daytime talk show entitled The View.
We are happy to announce that Raven Symone is now permanent.
Now, I don't think anyone understood at the time what a golden era having Raven on The View truly was. She would cause the most controversy out of any host to ever join the round table. And yes, I'm including Meghan McCain. Raven would begin feuding with That's So Raven guest star and Full House Christian alumni, Candace Cameron Bure.
The Oregon law bars businesses from discriminating against sexual orientation, race, disability, age, or religion. And to me, it's the same exact thing that they did back in the day, saying that Black people couldn't do certain things because it's my religious belief.
I think you are comparing apples to oranges here. I don't think this is discrimination at all. This is about freedom of association. It's about constitutional rights. It's about First Amendment rights. We do have the right to still choose who we associate with, but they did not refuse
I refuse to associate myself with you right now.
They did
Is
not.
that okay?
It's in the Constitution. They didn't refuse to bake the cake because of their sex orientation. In fact, they had baked cakes for them
all throughout the whole time.
They baked cake for them previously. They had a problem with the actual ceremony because the ceremony is what conflicted with their religious beliefs.
Right,
so
but were they invited to the wedding?
No, but they were it was to provide a service. They have the right to refuse
But
service.
apparently they don't, according to
freedom of association.
What does it say?
But it wasn't against sexual orientation, and I think that's where you're going with
for
this.
me, what I'm understanding you saying is that their religious belief says that two people of the same sex cannot be in a relationship. Is that what they're basing
They're
it
saying that they stand for marriage as a man and a woman.
Okay, well, sexual orientation also goes hand in hand with marriage in that situation. If it was a man and a woman, and one was black and one was white, and they discriminated against, we could also go back into the Constitution that's had many amendments saying they should be able to take care of this family as well.
$135,000 seems like a lot.
I don't think it's enough. I think
It's unconscionable that they charge $135,000 a fine for a $200 cake. It's
By the way,
so
who
wrong.
wouldn't want to bake a lesbian wedding cake? How easy would that be? You make a beautiful house. I mean, it's like wedding cakes are
Here's the other thing that I really wish we could do as a society, as a culture, as a country, is to respect that we have opposing views.
She would receive major heat on her comments about what parents should name their children.
Can we take back racist and say discriminatory? Because I think that's a better word.
Yes, it is a much better
That's a better word, and I am very discriminatory against words like the ones that they were saying in those names. I'm not about to hire you if your name is Watermelon Andrea. It's just not gonna happen. I'm not gonna hire you.
But that's not their fault. I would be such a beautiful King Kong Quisha, by the way. I'm just letting you guys know.
No, is that mean? Is that mean to me? Why do you think that's important to mudsling and have these words that obviously touch the hearts and souls of so many people of America being said when we're taught something different as a child? Could you explain that to me, and why do you think your success is based off of that?
Well, I'm at least talking about policy. You have a position on what people's names should be. Watermelondria. I mean, you'll insult people for their names. I'm talking about a government policy that affects all Americans and immigrants and the people living here, and it's harming our country.
So you
don't follow it?
Are you
I didn't ask you if, okay.
But because this is one of the only live looks we ever got into Raven's psyche, some remaining feuds from the Disney Channel days would rear their ugly heads on The View, specifically when it came time for the That's So Raven reunion. Annalise, Kyle, and Orlando would join Raven for a very special episode of The View, a That's So Raven reunion. And Orlando Brown would let the story of Raven Symone and pop superstar Miley Cyrus's feud slip.
Man, Miley, we had one encounter when it came down to it while we were all actively working. This was in the beginning of her career, in the beginning of Hannah Montana. Yeah. And when it came down to it, it's just more like we went to go open up the whole stage for this I think it was a school or something like that. But and they put her on stage before us, and Raven went hot. She was hot about that. What's this white?
She actually said
like,
that?
Ray, calm. No, because no, I'm not having it, Orlando. I'm not having it. I'm like, oh man, come on, chill, Ray.
It was actually named a different show altogether.
Angelina Jolie?
It was.
Who has the part?
Yeah, she's so not
No,
talented.
you're Miley Cyrus.
Well, they just wanted somebody more beautiful than Angelina Jolie, so of course they
Don't
went
look like
to
that,
me.
Ray.
I'm not talking.
You know I've been.
Now, we do need to take everything Orlando Brown says with a grain of salt, as he can't always or really ever be trusted. However, this was a look into how Raven felt about the generation of Disney Channel stars to come after her.
In a recent interview with Time, Miley Cyrus says that even though she's been in relationships with men, she's also been in relationships with women. What up, family? Well, she doesn't want to be labeled. That sounds familiar.
Did you say?
This was last year. I got in a lot of heat off the internet and in the Black community. I'm not going to say African American community. I'm going to say Black community because they thought that I said I wasn't Black and that I didn't want to be labeled in general. And you know what, Miley? I agree. We should not be labeled because one, that creates tension between people. You feel like you can look down like, okay, that's this type of person. This is how I should feel about you.
Raven would be on episode after episode of The View throughout her college days. But after she obtained her degree, murmurs would begin to spread across the industry that Raven was leaving The View entirely. ABC announced in October of 2016 that nearly 10 years after the beloved That's So Raven ended, that the show would be returning in a massive way. And this would result in Raven's departure from daytime television.
I'm excited and sad, but mostly excited. I have an announcement to make. No, I'm not pregnant. So, as you guys have noticed, I've been here on Fridays mostly, but that's because I've been working internally with the Disney company. I have a really big surprise, you guys, and I'm very excited. I don't know if you've ever seen the show, but I used to do the show called That's So Raven. And we're doing a That's So Raven 2. With no real title. There's no title yet, but I'm calling it That's So Raven 2 again. I'm very excited.
So what's the inside scoop? Are you going to be called Raven on the show?
Yes, it's Raven Baxter. I'm still me. I'm still Raven, but I am a mother this time, and I'm actually going to be a single mother raising 2 kids, and one of them is going to learn that she has visions. And I've been working with the Disney Channel people, Gary Marsh, Adam Bonet, everybody over there, and people from The View and the ABC family to really make sure that this goes well. I'm executive producer, so I've been super busy. That's why I haven't been here. And I also, I'm just excited.
Raven would immediately get to work on what we know today as Raven's Home, the sequel to That's So Raven. Reprising her role was Annalise Vanderpool and Raven Symone as the leading actresses. Absent were the victims of the That's So Raven curse: Kyle Massey, who faced charges for soliciting minors, and Orlando Brown, who is busy on Bad Boys Texas, and being bailed out of jail by Natalie Nunn. Now, we already have 2 videos about them on my sister channel, Secret Society. Anyway, Raven's Home would follow the now divorced Raven Baxter as she raises her son and his twin sisters. Raven and her son Booker both experience visions into the future. Raven turned out to be a successful fashion designer, and she now lives with her best friend Chelsea, raising both of their kids. Raven's Home would premiere in 2017 and would become one of the most successful Disney Channel shows of all time, becoming one of the first shows to break the 4-season rule and continue on for not just a 5th, but a 6th season as well. Raven Symone secured an Emmy for Raven's Home and kept the spirit of the golden era of Disney Channel alive for the whole family. Now, as the show ended, Raven was offered a multi-series deal with the Disney Channel to produce multiple shows with them for years to come, including the final That's So Raven spin-off titled Alice in the Palace, set to premiere next year. During her Disney Channel days, Raven absolutely dominated the network, and even during her breaks, she never really left. With stars like Brenda Song, Ashley Tisdale, and most of all, Raven Symone, you can really see the point illustrated, that once you start working for Disney Channel, they give you so many jobs, it's almost impossible to leave. Anyway, this has been Chaotic Web. Subscribe for more videos just like this one and comment what you want to see next.